Hey folks, Nathan B. Butler here. Welcome to Nate's Favorite Deck Building Games, and this time we take a look at a game that I have looked at previously in prototype form as a separate video outside of Nate's Favorite Deck Building Games, and that I hope at some point to do some playthroughs for, which is The Last Command, a dual deck building game. This actually is one of my top two deck building games right now. It's this and Hand of Fate Ordeals, and which one stands on top really depends on if I want something that plays longer or something that plays shorter. This was from a Kickstarter a while back from Sentient Games. So what we have here, of course, is The Last Command in its final form. I say final because we have looked at the prototype previously. Again, this is the prototype version that I had. Basically, when this was on Kickstarter, there was a pledge level that allowed you to become a character in the game. There was also a pledge level that allowed you to get one of their early prototype copies so you could play earlier. And I asked, hey, is there any chance of something that combines those two? And sure enough, they said, sure, why not? And made a bounty hunter pledge level, which is what I pledged. So I am a character in the game. I also got one of these prototypes signed by the creator early on, so I was playing it pretty early. And because of that, at the time that I recorded my previous video on the channel about this game, I had no affiliation with it other than being a backer. But I played it, and played it, and played it. Played a lot of solo in particular, and did a pass, kind of a copy editing pass on the rulebook to provide suggestions and some grammatical stuff. And eventually he decided that he would credit me actually as a playtester and an editor in the final game. So I had no affiliation initially. Now I do, by extension of the fact that I played it so much and enjoyed it so much once I got the prototype, that I kind of played into providing enough feedback that it seemed to have been impactful. So a little bit of an affiliation here, but it doesn't really make any difference as far as my opinion of the game. It was one of my favorites as soon as I got it, and sure enough, still is in its finished form. Now, as we look at it here, I would note that there are essentially three things that we're looking at. We are looking at the Kickstarter version, we are looking at the regular version, the retail version, and we are looking at one mini expansion. There are two mini expansions right now, but one of them is included in the Kickstarter version, hence it's part of that coverage. What you're seeing here is going to be the cover if you get a Kickstarter version, because this is a slip cover that goes over top of it. And I do think that it's interesting that the back is also slightly different. So this is the back of the slipcover here. This basically has two sides. It is essentially going into the last battle of a major spacefaring conflict, and you're in charge of the last ship on your side versus the last big ship on their side. It's a capital ship versus capital ship battle where you are controlling the systems and the crew of that one ship. A lot of folks initially saw this and thought, oh, it's kind of like Star Realms. Well, not really. Artistically, a little bit, but beyond that, no, it plays very differently than Star Realms. Likewise, it also plays very differently from the other capital ship to capital ship battler that we will eventually look at in this series, which is Solar Titans. What they've done, though, with this artwork is they've represented one side on the slipcover, one side on the box. So here, you have this guy almost has like a Sith holocron-looking type thing here in the red and the black. He's representing the Sunder. And again, back to the slipcover, it has the Imperator, the last of the Sunder's ships, in the foreground here, fighting against the Heart of Valdespar, which is from the Federation Remnant. But when you take off the slipcover, the box inside flips it around. Now it's the Heart of Valdespar as the foreground, and then the Imperator in the background. Then you flip it over, and yep, artwork has changed to represent again the Federation Remnant instead of the Sunder. A nice touch that they did it on the back, not just the front. The slipcover is on the Kickstarter version. The interior box is the same for all versions. Now, this is Nate's Favorite Deck Building Games, not a content overview video, so we're not going to look at every individual card or anything like that, or every individual component, but just to note here, a nice big rule book. It is a two-player game initially, as kind of its base mode, but then there is a solo mode that I believe plays really well, very smoothly in the back of the rulebook. So this is a 1 to 2 player game. I will say it is nicely packaged on the inside, and the cool thing about this game is that just like that prototype that I showed in another video, you have play mats for both sides in the box by default. You'll recognize the art from the slipcover in the box, so this is the Sunder with their ship, the Imperator, and the other side plays with the Heart of Valdespar for the Federation Remnant. I've just put this one on top of the other one here. In this game, you'll notice there's a track for your credits, there's a track for your hull integrity. You have 3 different systems that you can be putting cards into. You have engineering, comms, and tactical, each with an energy tracker. then you can have up to 3 crew, hence station crew limit 3, in each section as well. So systems will go here, crew will go here. You have 2 decks when playing this game as a human player. You have a system deck and a crew deck. So you're actually managing 2 decks as you play. That said, the solo AI, the solo bot, will combine them into a single deck. Now, aside from the slipcover, another difference between the Kickstarter and retail version is that in both versions, you have little acrylic markers here, which you're going to use to track your hull integrity that always starts at 20, your credits, which start at 6 for the second player and 5 for the first player. In solo, the human player always goes first, so the bot will get 6. You'll be tracking the energy on each system. In the case of the solo bot, you'd be on 3 for each to start with, whereas for a human player, you start at 1 instead. So moving the credits there, this would be a first player human, then kick up the credits, second player human, kick up the energy, now we have the solo bot ready to go. But again, in both versions, you get acrylic cubes. And in the Kickstarter version, you also get these nice chunky metal cubes that feel pretty good. They're a little hefty, a little more weighty than the acrylic ones. For what it's worth, as we look at the cards, this is the standard card back, and this is the official set of sleeves. All of my stuff is sleeved. The Kickstarter version comes with all the sleeves you need, though there's not really much to spare. So again, you're managing 2 decks here. So your starting deck as a human player for your systems and crew are 3 cards each. So you're going to see 3 cards with a little symbol up in the corner, 1 for each section. So you have 1 engineer, 1 comms expert, and 1 tactician, hence the symbols there for their different areas. Crew will pretty much always give you some type of benefit of power to a given system. You'll use power to play system cards. And sometimes there's an or ability, sometimes it's an and. On your starting cards, it's always or abilities here. But you'll shuffle these, and these will become your starting crew deck. Likewise, you will have 3 starting cards, again with your faction symbol in the corner, for systems here. Again, 1 for each, so comms, engineering, tactical. They're all color-coded, red, blue, and green, obviously. The other side also has 3 starting crew. The images and names and quotes are different, but functionally, same system, same abilities. And likewise for their system cards. However, if you choose, you could play an asymmetrical game. Your starting 3 crew cards are always the same, but if you want to play asymmetrically, each one also has an asymmetrical starting deck of the 3 cards for the systems that have a little X behind the symbol. They're balanced, but they are different between the 2 factions. So this is the Federation Remnant ones, and then here's your Sunder ones. Whichever ones you're using, you will again shuffle, and those become your system deck. Now, if you're playing against the AI is going to take both of their starting decks and just shuffle them together into a single deck. At the start of the game or at the end of your turn, you're going to draw 3 cards as a human player. It'll be 4 that are drawn face down for the solo bot. I'm not really going to address too much of the solo play here for the rest of the video. I go into that in depth in that previous video using the prototype, and I hope to do some playthroughs in the near future of that solo mode. So let's put all of our starting markers back on here, and let's go ahead and start drawing our 3. Because there are 2 decks, you draw 1 at a time to help you make decisions which deck you want to draw from for each card. So I'm going to draw here. Okay, I got a tactician. I'd really like to have a tactical system, so maybe I'll get lucky here. I draw. I do not get it. So now I got to decide, am I going to maybe go for something from the crew deck in hopes of maybe getting a green that'll help me activate this ability here, or do I still try to go for tactical because I know he'll help me get a bonus for tactical? I'm going to go ahead and still try for tactical, and I didn't get it. But now I have the 3 cards in my hand. Every turn, you're going to play all of the cards in your hand. You might say, well, wait a second, what if there's a card I don't want to use? That's fine. You still play it, essentially, but what you're doing is discarding it to get 2 credits from it. And unlike most deck building games, these credits do persist from turn to turn. It maxes out at 10, but it does persist. So how would I play cards? Well, for a system, you're going to check the energy cost in the corner. And you can play it to that system if you can spend enough energy to do so. So nuclear reactor here has a 0, easy enough. I put it here. I don't have to spend any energy. It's there. When you play a card into a system, you get this ability immediately. So in this case, gain 3 to any system. Sure, I'll put it in comms because I know I have a comms card to play. Now I can play Trade Rocket. Costs me 1 energy. It's a comms card. You must play a system card to its system. So I play Trade Rocket to comms. It costs me 1, so my energy goes down. I now get the 4 trade value that comes from it. Notice the items on the bottom aren't doing anything yet. So I've got one more card to play. It's Cadet Kaido. He is a tactician, so I really want to kind of put him in tactical because there's more likely to be a bonus coming from him being a tactician in tactical. But unfortunately, I don't have a tactical system out yet. So I'll just prepare for another turn, perhaps. I play the Cadet to that system. Crew can be played to any system. And what's going to happen is I'm going to gain 2 to that system, or I could deal a malfunction, as we'll look at here in just a moment. So I gain 2 to the system. So let's say that's the end of my turn. Now I can make any market purchases that we'll look at here in a moment. I can earn system bonuses by matching up symbols, which I cannot do just yet. And I'll draw 3 cards. I'm going to go ahead and just draw the ones that are left. I don't have to make it those cards, but we'll do it as an example in this case, and I'll show you what comes next. So on my next turn, maybe I'm going to play Basic Laser. I play Basic Laser. It costs me 2. Now I go and hit the enemy for 1 hull integrity. So they would have their hull integrity drop by 1. I have Cadet Core. Let's see, so gain 2 to this system or gain 1 repair, so I can repair my hull integrity. I'm not down yet, I'm still at 20, so I'm going to play him. Again, I can play Crew anywhere, but I'm going to play him over here where there's a matching symbol. That gives me 2 energy. Notice that with Cadet Fitz, I can play her to comms, and I can either get 2 energy to the system, which is what I'm going to do, or I could get 3 credits, but I'm already at 9. So 2 of those would be wasted, so might as well just get the energy from it. Now again, make market purchases. We'll talk about that in a moment. Now is when the system abilities actually will fire off because I have some matching symbols. During this third part of your turn, you're going to look to see, is there a crew member with a symbol that matches a system bonus, which are always at the bottom of the system cards. So here, Cadet Core, yes, he matches. Yes, Fitz matches. Yes, Kaido matches. So basically, when I played the system cards, I got that main ability. 3 energy to any system, 4 credits, deal 1 damage. When I played the crew, I got their ability immediately of gaining energy to the system or whatever the other ability was. I just took the energy each time. But now, and on every single subsequent turn, I can trigger these system bonuses. So the playing ability happens once, the bonuses can happen turn after turn after turn. So here, I get to gain 2 to this system because I have a matching engineer. Here, I get to draw 1 extra card at the end of my turn because I have a comms expert matching the symbol. Here, I get to deal 1 malfunction, as it's called, because I have a tactician. And usually you'll find that the system colors do match. So usually you'll get more benefits from putting engineers in engineering than if you put like a comms expert in engineering. But there are some that use system bonuses from different systems or different forms of expertise. So you have to keep an eye on that. Now let's jump ahead and let's say that in those turns that we just played, I'd actually spent a bunch of credits and I've actually got some cards that I've purchased. Purchase cards, as in most deck building games, go to your discard pile. So I have some system cards here in my discard for the system deck. I have a crew card there in the discard for my crew deck. Now I need to go and draw. If you need to interact with your deck, typically to draw, and the deck is empty, then just like any other deck building game, it's all about shuffling your discard to make a new deck. Except in this case, it also clears that type of card. So I'm at the end of my turn. It's time for me to draw 3. Okay, well, I want some systems or crew. I'm not really sure. Let's start with crew. If I'm going to draw a crew card from an empty crew deck, I clear all of my crew and put the ones in my discard, shuffle them, and now this is my new crew deck. But now, in doing so, I brought all my more powerful cards into the deck, but all my system bonuses are gone. Likewise, if I wanted to draw a system card, then I would take the discard and the ones that are already out there, and now those become my new system deck. So there's a gameplay element here, of management element here, of trying to make sure that you're not drawing from a deck that's going to clear things when you have really good bonuses in play until you really need to. For what it's worth, if you're playing solo, since it is one deck, reshuffling the bots deck clears everything for the bot systems and crew. The goal, of course, is to reduce your opponent to 0 on the hull integrity, and they're dead. So before we look at how the market works, let's look at a few other quick mechanisms and what you get in terms of different cards. Now, I mentioned malfunctions a couple of times there. This is the malfunction deck. There are 16 cards in the malfunction deck, and they basically sit face up, so you always know which one is coming. And if you have a malfunction dealt against you, you're going to basically take one and stick it in one of your discards. Eventually, it will cycle through your deck and you'll draw it as part of your hand, and when that happens, something bad will happen. Typically, it's going to either count as your card draw, or it might deal damage and then replace the card so that you do still get your 3. Some of them go back to the malfunction deck so they only trigger once. Some of them instead go to your discard so they can keep coming back. There's quite a few different variations here. Now, bearing in mind that usually your decks don't get very big in this game, there's still a lot of variation despite the fact there's not a ridiculous number of cards as we sometimes see in other games. For each system, so in this case comms, you have 18 cards. Comms a lot of times are like drawing cards and market manipulation and stuff like that. Tactical is typically going to be what's going to deal damage or maybe deal malfunctions. Notice here one of those system bonuses I mentioned where you might have a crew that's technically got a different expertise but can trigger in that section for you. Engineering is usually about things like energy, repairs, stuff like that. But again, 18 for each section or system. And you notice here, as you're putting in system cards, there's just the one space. So anytime you put a new system card down, it covers up the one that was below it, so only that one is the active one. Whereas the 3 crew are all 3 visible at the same time. They can all trigger bonuses from that system. But interestingly, there are some cards like, say, repair drones. So to repair, gain 1 repair for every card covered by this card. So there are some that gain benefits based on the number of cards underneath them. For each system's crew expertise, you get 10 cards. So we have 10 for comms, 10 for engineering, and 10 for tactical. This is actually my card here. That's me in the game. Got to send them a picture as a photo reference, give them the quote for it, give them a suggested name, pick what system I wanted to be an expert in, and so forth. But yeah, so there's me. But you'll notice here that all the ones that you can purchase, as opposed to in the starting decks, have power and, or energy and some ability, rather than it being an or, typically. So we know some basics of how to play. The one thing that's really left is the market and looking at a couple of mini expansions. I would note something really cool, by the way, with the flavor text, is that when there are 2 copies of the same card, which sometimes happens, but not always, you have flavor text, and actually the flavor text is not the same on both. It's a 2-part phrase. So like for fleet transport, the first step to victory is not might. The first step to victory is logistics. Right? I thought that was a nice touch. They're otherwise identical, but instead of being exactly identical, the flavor text carries over. This generally is what you're going to see as your market setup, although you might have it organized in a different way. I just want to show you here what you've got. So for your crew decks, you're going to take your crew decks and you're going to shuffle them and just flip them over. So there's one showing face up, available for purchase, for credits, at any given time. Then for each of the systems, you're going to shuffle each system separately into its own deck here and put the deck face down and deal 2 from each into a row here, and then you'll have your malfunctions again out there so you can see what's coming. You don't buy malfunctions, though. Those are things that come in through different game effects. But you notice what this means. You have a lot of agency here in terms of what cards you're going to buy and put into your decks, because you're not beholden to a 5 or 6 card river of cards and just whatever happens to be available at any given time. At any given point in the game, there is always 1 crew from each section available for purchase and 2 different systems for purchase. And as soon as one's gone, it immediately refills. You don't have to wait for a particular section to luck into coming up, which is one of the most frustrating things, for example, when it comes to the factions for, say, Star Wars, the deck building game. It makes it a lot more strategic. And for what it's worth, if you don't like what's on offer, remember, discarding 1 card gets you 2 credits. Well, also 2 credits can be spent to basically refresh any set of cards. You can pay 2 to get rid of both of these and draw 2 new ones. Same thing, or pay 2 to refresh all of the 3 crew. So you have some level of market manipulation that doesn't require a specific card to manipulate the market. You can just do it by paying credits. I love the agency that this game provides to you. If you lose, it's because you lost. You can't blame it on the market. You do also get a turn reference, by the way. Plenty of information about the icons and a reminder about the order of the turns and so forth, but that's primarily going to be for a human player. If you're going to play solo against the bot, all that reference is in the rulebook. That one's a little bit more involved to make sure you're managing their decisions properly. Lastly, let's take a look at the 2 mini expansions, Captain's Cash expansion and the Scrappers expansion. So, Captain's Cash is actually included in the Kickstarter version of the game. So you don't need to get it separately. It is available separately now, though, on the company website. There are no markings on the cards to tell you which expansion they come from, which is unfortunate, but they are all listed on the little reference card that comes with the expansion. So here you've got 12 new cards in the Captain's Cash. 3 new cards for Tactical, 3 for Engineering, 3 for Comms, and this actually includes one of my favorite oddball cards here, which is Boarding Party. Cost of 1, 2 energy to play. You're playing the Boarding Party into Comms. You're going to deal 1 damage for every crew card in that system, right? So if you already have 3, you're dealing 3 damage. But at the end, during that system bonuses phase, for any of those that are sitting there, discard any crew cards in this system. So if you even have 1, they're all gone because they were the Boarding Party. Captain's Cash then also has 1 new crew member for each section. They all have the same ability, which is to gain 1 to every system, kind of kicking up your energy a bit. The other one is the Scrappers expansion. This became available at Gen Con 2025 first. It is now available on the company's website. Now, cards can be scrapped, basically removed from the game, kind of a discard for the market sort of thing. But what's interesting here is that there's some cards that actually let you pull scrapped cards back into the game. It does change 1 rule, though, if you're playing with it, which is that the first player begins with 4 credits instead of 5. This one has 2 new tactical cards. Notice this one begins the game scrapped, so you have to do something to pull it back. Likewise for Engineering, 1 of them begins scrapped, and same with Comms. And there's going to be 6 new crew cards, 2 for each section. One of them is going to be a Recon Scout, which is always gaining 3 energy to the system, and you can take a scrapped card to your discard. Again, that whole scrapped ability that I mentioned, pulling from the scrapped pile. And the other one's going to be an old ship bot from a particular expertise, all of which do the same thing, which is 4 energy or repair 1 malfunction. You may choose a card from your hand to save into your next turn. Do not play the chosen card this turn, which isn't usually possible. Usually it's either you play it or you discard it for 2 credits. So are the 2 12-card expansions necessary? No, not in the slightest. Is getting the Kickstarter version necessary? No, not really. It gives you an extra slip cover, the metal cubes, the sleeves, and the Captain's Cash expansion, so I personally think it was worth it, but it's only 12 extra cards. The rest is basically bling. Regardless, I think this is one you'd probably enjoy if you do like one-on-one or solo deck building games. Again, this is one of my absolute favorites. It's right up there for me with Hand of Fate Ordeals. Whether that one or this one is number 1 depends on my mood that day and do I want a quick game or a long game, but it is a great little deck building game. And I don't just say that because now I'm credited with editing and playtesting. I was loving this back when I was just playing the prototype as a backer. And I'm glad to finally be able to cover it on Nate's favorite deck building games. Again, this is the last command from Sentient Games, which at least as of the time that I'm recording this is still available through their website in its different configurations.